Hey everyone, welcome to the Royce Report. I'm your host, Royce, and today we're going to be talking about why a couple of Xbox's IP have been trending on Twitter. That includes things like Gears of War, Scalebound, and Quantum Break 2? Who knows? We'll see. And also, I kind of want to talk about Avowed, since I haven't really talked about that ever since I've started this channel, and there's rumors that Avowed might be co-op. So if you're interested in whether or not I'm wearing pants and you want to find out that answer, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Spoiler alert, I'm not. And so let's get into this news and let's talk about it. So, like I said, a lot of IP that Xbox is involved with has been trending on Twitter, and I have no idea where this is coming from or why all these people decided to talk about this, but we're going to get into one of them being Quantum Break. Yeah, Quantum Break was one of those games during the Xbox One generation that a lot of people didn't really dip their toe in because of the whole TV aspect of the Xbox One, and this show was tied with this game being Quantum Break, and a lot of people were involved with this. You even had Shawn Ashmore of Iceman fame, and if you haven't checked out Smallville, he's in there with his twin brother. Yeah, Shawn Ashmore has a twin brother and they look exactly the same, and being twins, but I didn't even know that. That's really cool. And his twin brother plays Jimmy in Smallville, and if you're not a fan of that, why am I talking about Smallville? Enough about DC stuff. I know you guys aren't here for that, but hey, it's underrated. If you like Superman, that's a good show. But yeah, he's involved with this, and this comes from Remedy Entertainment. So you know Remedy Entertainment is really best known for their work on Alan Wake and Control, as well as Max Payne. And this is one of those games that they ended up working on with Microsoft in order to get out of the gate. And this is not their first time working with Microsoft. We saw them work on with Microsoft on Alan Wake, and let's see what they've had to say about this. So why is this trending? Well, because Jez ended up tweeting about this, saying bring back Quantum Break, and this is on January 15th, so just yesterday, and that got a decent amount of likes. But someone retweeted that, being Shawn Ashmore, who plays the main character in Quantum Break, where he said, "I'm in at Xbox." So that's a pretty big deal. That is huge. To have the main character of Quantum Break come in and say that he wants to be a part of this again, and that he's obviously in for it. That is really cool to see. But what's even cooler to see is that Sam Lake himself, the creative director of Alan Wake, Max Payne, Control, and Quantum Break, also retweeted what Shawn Ashmore said with a heart, pretty much indicating that he would also be kind of interested in doing that. And Shawn Ashmore also responded to that, saying if only it were that easy. Now, there is many other different tweets involved with this that is pretty much just them going back and forth about how, you know, it's great to see Quantum Break trending. A lot of people are saying that Quantum Break is a very underrated gem. And I feel like that goes for a lot of the Xbox One generation exclusives. We had a lot of those exclusives kind of fall flat when it came down to the Metacritic scores. But looking back on them, I feel like a lot of people were a little bit too harsh on them because you had so many greats back then. You had Rise, Son of Rome, you had Sunset Overdrive, you had Recore, you had Quantum Break. There are so many other ones that they were, you know, at the beginning of the Xbox One generation that got a lot of flack for not being good enough. But in actuality, going back and playing those games, they're kind of those little hidden gems that a lot of people appreciate. Now, I haven't played Quantum Break, and I know this sounds like I'm a broken record here, where I'm always saying, yeah, I haven't played this Xbox IP. What kind of Xbox fan am I when I haven't played most of their IP? But I got a question for you. Have you played Kung Fu Chaos? No? Okay then, shut up, all right? I am an Xbox fan. It's hard to get to these games, all right? I'm trying. But this game I've heard only great things about. I think Remedy is a very talented team. We've seen them do great games. We've seen Max Payne, Control, Quantum Break and Alan Wake. But the thing about the relationship between Microsoft and Remedy is it's very hard to figure out what's going on between them, the dynamic between them, because you saw them hold on to Alan Wake, and what happened with Alan Wake was that Xbox had the rights to the IP for like 10 years, and they didn't do anything with that game. They didn't do a sequel, nothing. And then the moment their rights revert back to Remedy, that's when Remedy announces that they're doing a Alan Wake remaster, and they're doing an Alan Wake 2. And so it's just like, why didn't you do an Alan Wake 2 when you were under Xbox? Why didn't Xbox try to push for an Alan Wake 2 when all the fans were clamoring for an Alan Wake 2? Especially since Alan Wake was critically acclaimed and was very, very good, and a lot of fans loved Alan Wake. So why is it that it took so long to get an Alan Wake 2, and now that it's no longer a part of Xbox, it's going multi-platform? That seems like a thing that Xbox has missed out on. But the same thing goes when Remedy was making all these deals. They've made deals with Epic Games, and they've got invested into some other Chinese company, and now they're stuck making all these games for those people. Now they don't really have that window of opportunity to do something like a Quantum Break 2. And even if they did, Xbox would probably just wait for the rights to revert back to Remedy before they even did anything with this IP anyways. So I'm so glad that this is blowing up, and I hope that Xbox does see this and can go and like maybe invest some assets into it. But knowing the track record when it comes down to Xbox and doing things that fans want, we know that they don't really do that. I mean, you can look at things like people asking for a Conquer, people asking for a Banjo-Kazooie remake or reboot or sequel, something, and they have refused to do that. Has anyone been asking for a Perfect Dark sequel? No, but that's the first thing they decided to do. So I think Xbox is very disjointed when it comes to trying to please the fans, and I think that this is something else that they're probably going to drop the ball on, even though it is trending, even though you have the creator and creative director for these games wanting to do it, even though you have the main actor wanting to come back and do some more. This is just a missed opportunity on Xbox's front, and they really need to kick it into high gear when it comes to these games that a lot of people are asking for. And some games that people aren't asking for, like maybe Jade Empire. Get BioWare involved. Let's get Jade Empire rolling. Come on, let's do this. But all right, well, there's other rumors about some other things, and I talked about it in a video before, which involves Scalebound. Scalebound is also something that was trending on Twitter. Now, Scalebound is something that has been hot and cold these past years about how whether or not it's coming back, whether it's flat on. It's going flatlining. We don't really know, but last week I talked about how Special Nick has said that Scalebound is going to be returning in some shape or form, and he seems to be doubling down on that statement. Scalebound revival could be underway, it's claimed. Now, in a discussion on the Xbox Era podcast, it has been directly suggested that Scalebound may be scheduled for something of a revival. In a breakdown that lasted a couple of minutes, Special Nick, co-founder and co-host, explained that Platinum Games might be working with Xbox to bring the Scalebound project back to life. In a statement handed down on the Xbox Era podcast, it seems that there's a chance for the Scalebound project to be renewed, potentially receiving something of a fresh start. In a discussion, co-founder and co-host Special Nick explained, "Now look, it's very, very early, but I've been told that Platinum Games is working with Xbox again to look at bringing back Scalebound." Nick explained that he wasn't sure whether this meant a full revival or a pickup where we left off kind of project, but it's certainly not something that's totally outside the realms of possibility. Last year, Jez Corden published an article to Windows Central that outlined Platinum Games Kamiya's intention to eventually revive the Scalebound project. However, it's important to bear in mind that rumors such as this should certainly be taken with a pinch of salt. So yeah, we've discussed before about how Scalebound was, the creator of Scalebound wanted it to come back, and he was begging and pleading Xbox to kind of get their hands on that IP and really show them what they can do. And now their excuse for them not really being able to nail this release was because they said that they were too young of a studio to handle something that was that innovative. But as we saw when we saw the trailer of the gameplay kind of looked very choppy. There were very, very bad frame rates, and the gameplay honestly didn't really look that fun. Now, I think the trailers of Scalebound really showed it off very well, and it had a very interesting idea. And like I said, I think that Xbox sorely needs some mascots, and that character in Scalebound could have been somewhat of a mascot for them going forward. But obviously that never happened. And now from Special Nick's side, he's saying that he's hearing rumors of them working on this at some capacity. I do think that you should be taking this with a grain of salt, because Special Nick doesn't really have the best track record when it comes down to things. Now, Jez Corden has come out and said things similar to this, but has never flat out said that, yeah, they're doing this, or no, it's not really happening. So take it with a huge grain of salt. Also, the Gears of War thing was also trending, and that's because of the discussions that we had before, where there might be potential for a Gears of War remastered trilogy coming out at some point. And even Cliff Bleszinski, who is the creative director of those games, is also hyping it up and wanting that to happen as well. And that's pretty much it. That's basically all that. And I said that in a previous video, so if you want to look at that and see what I have to say about that, that'll be over there. So now is the time for Avowed. Avowed is a game that I am really excited about, and it's because Obsidian is a true masterclass at delivering games and making these games as epic as they possibly can. And I think that Avowed is their real chance to shine underneath Xbox and really show that, okay, now we have Xbox backing, this is what we are capable of, and I'm excited to see what they have to say. So recently, ACG, who is a famous YouTube reviewer and one of the reasons why I even started a YouTube channel, stated that he has heard that Avowed is actually going to be co-op. Still hearing that Avowed does have co-op components or full co-op. I can see that being an insane experience. Would love to see this in most RPGs. So we know that ACG is not a leaker, but he does have some great insider information when it comes down to a lot of things. He does know a lot of people in the industry. So I would actually believe him over a lot of other people, just because he's very reputable. He is a good guy, and I don't think he would be lying about this, and he's not really trying to gain anything from saying things like this. So I really do believe ACG when it comes down to this, and I think that having a co-op element to this would be really awesome and could play a lot. I wonder what it would be like. Would it be like something similar to how the Elder Scrolls Online works, where kind of this big open world and you can just jump in and jump out with your friends? Is it going to be like something like Fable, where your world is just going to be around this co-op person, and that co-op person is just going to have all the stats and stuff that are similar to what you have? I'm just really interested to see how they're going to be able to tackle this series. And the thing about Avowed, which is really kind of crazy to think about, is we don't really know a whole lot about Avowed. We only have gotten one trailer, and that trailer just showed some arrows flying through the air and someone dual wielding magic and a sword. And the thing about it is that the only thing that is confirmed is that it's going to be a first-person AAA RPG, and it's going to be set in the Pillar of Eternity world. And other than that, we don't have any other confirmation from the studios themselves. And when is this game coming out? Is it coming out in 2023? Is it coming out in 2024? Well, they are still hiring people for narrative leads when it comes down to Avowed. This comes from Idle Sloth, who is a very well-known leaker. FYI, Pentiment narrative designer Zoe Franznick is now working on Avowed. Avowed has at least plus 10 narrative designers, lots of new narrative designers, former BioWare, Ubisoft lead, Hogwarts Legacy, Riot Games. And this is a screenshot of that person now working as a narrative lead. So what does this necessarily mean? I mean, they're barely hiring this person, so does it mean that they're nowhere near done? But I don't really think so. I think that they're actually probably making a lot of headway, but I think that they're hiring a lot of narrative designers for the other parts of this world that they want to flesh out and build out. And I know that this game has also been rumored to be bigger than Skyrim. Now, I don't necessarily think it's going to be bigger than Skyrim in the scale sense, but I do think it's going to be bigger in Skyrim in the density sense. So it's going to be far more dense. It's going to have far more meaningful side missions, and I think it's going to have a lot of lore. It's going to have it's just going to feel a very lived in setting, and I think that's very important when it comes down to an RPG, and that's also very important when it comes down to Obsidian. Obsidian is known to take something that's already existing and improve upon it. We saw it with Fallout New Vegas. They took something that worked with Fallout 3 and they improved upon those systems, allowing these great side stories and allowing Fallout New Vegas, which is a barren wasteland, feel alive. And I think that's very necessary in an RPG, and I think that this will allow them to kind of have more of those stories to tell. If you have 10 plus narrative leads on this, then you know you're really trying to go for something big. But we also know that Avowed has actually been rebooted at some point. Jason Schreier has stated, Avowed has gone through some reboots and changed directors pretty recently. Don't know if it'll be there today, but I wouldn't expect it to play it for a while. So this was in regards to the Xbox showcase back in 2022, and he posted this right before then. He ended up deleting this post and actually clarified why he ended up deleting it on Reset Era. I deleted the tweet because I don't want news sites and forums making a whole thing out of something I dashed off on my phone while waiting in line to pick up bagels. What I said remains true, and I believe that it's been reported in the past. I have no idea whether the game will be shown off today, but it went through a major leadership change last year and has been rebooted multiple times. Now, he's actually not the only person who has said that. Jez Corden has also said things like that as well. So this comes from Twisted Voxel. Avowed development was reportedly restructured to focus on features that matter. During the latest episode of Xbox 2, editor at Windows Central and podcaster Jez Corden revealed that the development of Avowed was rebooted by Obsidian because the studio wanted to focus on features that mattered the most to the project. The development team felt that it really needed to step up its game for Avowed now that it is a part of Xbox Game Studios. According to Jez, Obsidian wished to demonstrate that it is now a AAA game studio that can deliver an ambitious project. However, despite having all sorts of features planned for the game, the studio was unable to make it work the way it had wanted, and that's when the development team decided to go back to the drawing board and focus specifically on features that are more meaningful to the RPG project. Even with Microsoft's support, the development team felt that Obsidian is still a small studio compared to Bethesda, which has hundreds of people working on a single project. Jez also said that Obsidian doesn't see the changes made to Avowed's development as a reboot. To the studio, it is more of a change in direction and restructuring. So I think that they're just going to pretty much take the foundation that they already built before, and they're kind of changing it a little bit to kind of fit what they wanted to do. And I think that's really important to realize that this is not a full reboot. So that actually came out from Jez and Brandel Thor on their Xbox 2 podcast about a couple months ago. So this is a relatively newer leak or more information on that. But I think they, in regards to when they rebooted it, I think it was back in early 2021 or late 21. So and it's not a full reboot. It's just restructuring, taking things that what they feel like matter in a RPG and kind of focusing more on that. And the same thing can be said about what they're doing with Fable. Fable also had that issue where they were kind of maybe reaching too far and wanted to dial that back a little bit and realize that, okay, for our first game, let's just kind of like nail down the proper way of going about it, and then maybe in the next games we'll kind of chase after those ideas that we once had. So I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, and I do think that Avowed is still scheduled to be coming out in 2024 at some time. I think that when it comes down to Obsidian, Obsidian is very good at meeting deadlines and at pretty much just, I don't want to say crunch because I don't think they crunch, but they are very good at pushing out games very fast. I mean, last year you had Grounded and Pentiment come out, and so I think maybe we might be silent this year when it comes down to Avowed. But Obsidian is just a great team, and I'm excited to see what they have to offer. But I think that Obsidian, whenever this game does come out, is really going to nail it. And like they said, I think that they really want to prove themselves, especially now since they have the backing of Microsoft, and that they were always a sort of AA studio. This is their time to be like, hey, you know what? We're done being the AA studio. We're done being the indie darling. We want to show people what we're capable of when we have a AAA RPG. And this is their move right here, and I'm excited to see what they can show all of us and prove everyone wrong when it comes down to any sort of misguided thoughts they have on Obsidian. But this is a great team, and Xbox really has a wonderful team on their hands, and they got a good get for sure. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Scalebound is going to be coming back again? Do you think that we might be getting a Quantum Break 2? Should I play Quantum Break? I know you guys are probably going to let me know in the comment section below. And what do you think Avowed is going to be like? I'm pretty intrigued about all of this rumors and speculation. But let me know in the comment section below. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. And I appreciate you all for just checking me out and having good discussions and stuff. So if you like what you saw and you'd like to see more, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And I'll be seeing you guys on the next one. Remember, take it easy.